Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Exordia Creative Podcast. It's a holiday Monday. It's quiet here in the office, and we're going to start it off like we always do with a classic bubbly opening.
What is civic holiday?
Great question, but I'll answer that after this. I think we should almost clip that and just have that as the intro. That could just be our intro sound.
Right when it starts?
Like right when it starts. Like before I say, hey, welcome back to the podcast, we just record the audio just from that, and then...
So I think like in Canada we get one holiday a month usually, and maybe civic holiday is just there's nothing else in August. Is there a family day or something? I don't know.
It's so out of touch with holidays.
There's nothing else, so we'll just have one. Yeah, we don't really do that.
No, we don't.
In our line of work.
We don't really do that.
I just realized yesterday it's a holiday today.
Yeah. So we're all here for the holiday, everybody. Hope you're enjoying it. Kicking back in a lawn chair. Maybe you're getting some work done, whatever you're doing. Hope you're loving it. So a couple podcasts ago, I'm not sure if it was last podcast or the podcast before that one, we talked about all those large Twitter accounts getting hacked, like Kanye West, Elon Musk, and all those guys. So there's a new update to that. And as it turns out, it was a Florida teen. He basically, hang on, I'm going to pull it up because I want to get exactly what was reported here.
What you were telling me, he found a way to socially engineer his way in.
Yeah.
By calling the company and pretending that he worked in the IT department.
Yeah. So authorities provided new details on Friday, alleging that Clark, who's this teen, used social engineering to convince a Twitter employee that he was a coworker in the IT department and had the employee provide credentials to access the customer service portal.
Brilliant. They should probably hire Clark. I'm sure they're already in talks with him trying to figure out how to prevent that from happening.
Unless he's getting jail time, which I don't know if he is. Because, technically, he was frauding, number one, and stealing all that Bitcoin. So
yeah, that's actually pretty common in tech is if they find somebody who can expose, a vulnerability, they try to get them on their team and work with them to be like, hey, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well, right? He did do you a favor.
He did.
Even if he was, if he had malicious intentions or whatever. I mean, he obviously did, but...
Yeah, so that's some interesting stuff.
I wonder if they confiscated his money or if there's an investigation going on right now.
I don't know. I just saw that headline, so I took a listen. I read it over, and
it's crypto, right? And if he has the wherewithal to do that, then he probably knows how to hide a private key somewhere and keep that money for when he gets out of jail or something.
Yeah, crazy. So Clark, maybe you might get hired after you're done your jail time or whatever you got going on.
Wonder how much he made.
Oh man, some of those accounts had so many followers, and I'm sure people fall for that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So
how many total followers do you think he spoke to at that time?
Apple, Elon Musk, Kanye West, several. There was more than just that. So hundreds of millions, maybe.
Hundreds of millions. Okay, so let's say it's 100 million.
Yeah.
Let's say maybe 5% fall for it.
Yeah.
And maybe of that 5%, maybe 10 to 5% follow through with it.
Yeah.
So that's already a lot of people.
And then imagine if they gave $100 worth of Bitcoin or whatever.
Maybe 10% of those people actually had crypto to give.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think he made, maybe.
Yeah. So that's pretty crazy.
I'd be interested to know for sure.
Yeah. What a little scheme. I wonder how old he is. It didn't say how old he was. But
he is doing the company a service by exposing that.
He is.
In a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if he didn't take all the money from people, it'd be a different outcome for the guy and he could go work at Twitter. But
a black hat hacker, they call it.
Maybe Facebook will pick him up.
Yeah. As opposed to a white hat.
Speaking of social media news, there was an antitrust hearing last week. I tuned into it briefly. I didn't tune in too much. Did you watch any of it or all of it or some of it?
I didn't watch any of it. I read a couple recaps.
Yeah.
So it was Tim Cook, CEO of Apple. It was Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon. And I forget the guy's name, Pichai.
Yeah, Sundar?
Yeah, Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, I believe. So they're basically just being interrogated by this antitrust committee of Congress people. And each business kind of had a different critique that they were being attacked with. For example, in Apple, it was how they regulate their app store and how they determine who's allowed to make apps and who's not and what kind of fees there are.
Yeah.
Facebook, for example, is like their anti-competitive actions, like trying to buy out and threaten smaller companies, and they were using like transcripts from the Instagram buyout way back in the day to kind of accuse Mark Zuckerberg of being like threatening and kind of like predatory toward trying to buy Instagram. I don't really know what came of it. I think basically they're going to take all their answers and spend the next couple months coming up with a report to maybe set up some new kind of antitrust laws, because these laws are old, right? Like, these are from the 1920s. When it was like the Rockefeller Empire and those old I don't know what I think they were involved in like oil and like building tycoons. But the point is, the laws were designed to prevent like monopolistic industries for them. And now it's like, okay, translate this to tech, where these people are just as rich but way more powerful and way more influential. And the laws don't necessarily translate the same. It's all new stuff, right? And like we see this every time any of these like people with superhuman abilities have to testify in front of Congress. Like the laws kind of lag to the kind of industry that they're in.
Laws lag in every single industry, though. You know, there needs to be a refresh, because we're moving so quickly with technology and stuff. A lot of the stuff is outdated. So I think this is kind of a band-aid or like exposing this part specifically to the broader issue. Which is that we need to update our stuff.
For Google, they were found stealing content from Yelp. Like they basically just take the Yelp reviews and automatically migrate them over to Google. And basically Yelp appealed this, and they reached out to Google back in the day when this happened. And Google was like, do you want us to just completely delist you, or can we keep taking your reviews? Essentially. So really
bullying a little bit.
No, absolutely bullying. Really interesting power dynamics. Like for Amazon, they refer to their sellers as like internal competitors, and they try to beat out their own sellers sometimes, and they like they restrict what their sellers can sell. Like for example, there was this huge textbook publisher that was starting to eat into Amazon's market share. So Amazon slowly started restricting the certain types of books that they could sell, and they kind of like systematically wiped out their whole product offering. In this company, they haven't sold anything in like 10 months. And they used to be the #1 seller.
That's crazy.
For textbooks.
So what do you think from your perspective? Do you think these companies are too large and they need to, or do you just think these laws need to be updated?
Well, I think like the principle of antitrust laws is important, right? Like, I don't think any one company or any one entity should be given unlimited power with like no recourse and no accountability. Of course not. But like how you go about setting that up in a way that's fair in a landscape that's always changing is difficult. You know what I mean? Like, if, for example, in the case of Facebook and Instagram, you know, this is just economies of scale, right? Like bigger companies are always going to have the leverage to buy smaller companies. And what's a perfect market, I think, is really hard to determine. And who do you ask that? You know what I mean? Like, sure, competition is good, but you know, if you do a good job and you make a big company like Facebook, you're going to have the resources to buy up other companies. So where do you draw the line, right? Like those are really complex questions. And and I don't know, like I like to support, you know, the little guy. But also some people design companies to be bought up.
Exactly. A lot of tech companies are structured that way. They plan to build it and exit. Right? Like that's some of their goals.
And that's like a viable plan. So So I don't know. I think it's really difficult to regulate, and it's going to take a lot of people and a lot of study of what's going on. It is really scary how all this power is kind of like amalgamating in a few central places, but it's nothing new. It's just really interesting to see how it translates to tech. Like these are literally superhuman people, right? Like it's four of the most powerful people in the world in human form, pretty much. It's insane.
Crazy. And I believe this was Jeff Bezos' first time testifying before Congress too.
Okay. I know Zuckerberg has in the past, but I'm not really familiar with anybody else.
And then there was, I did watch a couple of clips, like some of the highlights from it. And a congressman was asking Mark Zuckerberg about one of his tweets. One of his tweets got removed or something.
Okay.
And he's like, that's not our platform. Like, it was pretty funny. There's a couple of those cringy moments where they...
like they confuse the platforms? Yeah.
And Twitter obviously wasn't there because it's Twitter, but yeah.
And that's the problem, right? Like, these Congress people, I don't know what qualifications you need to join the antitrust committee or how they select people to make the decisions, but like, these are politicians, right? And these are Congress people. At the end of the day, you know, I'm sure they have tech people consulting on the board, but they're not experts, right?
No. The last one, the one before this one was a lot, I don't want to call it funnier, but the questions were a lot more entertaining because some of the questions were so simple and weren't really related to what's
Which one's that?
It was another antitrust hearing, but I think it was just Zuckerberg. And they were asking him like Wi-Fi questions, and anyway, it's crazy the disconnect.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we need regulation in place in some capacity, but I couldn't even begin to like articulate how I feel about that. Like, it's such a complex issue.
It is, yeah, for sure. So there's that. Also, kind of the same, kind of not at all. We're working on our website. The Exordia Creative website. So we did some headshots last week, which is nice, exciting, getting some fresh content. So we're just combing through those. What else is going on, Jared?
Yeah, I'm really pumped because our website's been under construction for a while. So we're kind of working on like a new theme, a new aesthetic. We're not changing our branding or anything. That's not going anywhere. But I'm just really excited to freshen things up. And we do get a lot of traffic on our website, believe it or not. Not as much as anybody who sat in at the antitrust hearing last week, but we get a lot, so it'll be nice to have a place for people to go to check out what we do and our services and a little more about us. Yeah. Kind of just a more in-depth look at our company, because at the moment you really only have like what you see on the surface level on Instagram and whatnot, and people still do reach out to us and we can kind of explain it, and there's a lot of word of mouth that goes on, but just to have that kind of centralized place where people can come check it out. I'm really excited. The website looks great so far. I'm not going to tie ourselves to like a deadline of when it's going to be published, but you better believe we're going to let you know. We're working on all the content writing. Courtney's been putting together some portfolio stuff, and we're really excited. So yeah, stay tuned, guys.
Should be fun.
Might be able to buy some merch on the website as well.
Oof. Speaking of merch, guys, we got our embroidering sample last week. Looks sweet. Very excited about that. Are we placing an order this week?
Yeah, so we've figured out where we're going to get the blanks, and the blanks are coming. But right now we're just kind of looking for like application techniques for the embroidery part, and figuring out if we want to work with this company that we're working with now, or if we want to go elsewhere, or maybe switch up the technique. Point being, we've got the design, we've got the blanks, we're just kind of honing in on the final details. And once we get that, we can start accepting pre-orders.
And I really want to reiterate, like, these are Canadian-made hoodies, really high quality, heavy, best sweatshirt you're probably going to have in your entire closet. And thank you to everybody that's reached out and in support and that want to buy a hoodie. That's awesome. So that's exciting.
We've got a decent amount of orders already, which is pretty cool. Let us know if you guys want to pre-order one, and we'll set something up.
For sure.
Send us a message on Instagram or something.
Last week we had a consultation in our office.
Yes.
And that's something that, and again, this is going to be on our website, because a lot of our services, like, you just think we just do social media, think we just do production based off our Instagram or whatever. So we do consultations. We did one last week. And one of the things that we were talking about besides the social media consultation was, again, it goes back to these business lessons that we've been talking about. And we talked a little bit about staying lean and living within your means and that kind of thing. And that's something that we've learned. COVID definitely woke us up to that, how important it is to be lean, not burning cash. So just another little business lesson. If you can keep your costs low, which I'm sure you can find a couple things that you can cut out, stay lean.
Yeah, it's so important. Like, we work with a lot of people in the clothing industry who want to start brands, and a lot of them they have this goal to open a brick and mortar, or maybe multiple brick and mortar, like an actual physical store, as opposed to digital retailer. They want to do both, but a lot of people really seem to be asphyxiated on the store, because I think it kind of like establishes you, and it kind of like validates your idea, like, hey, look, I've got this real space that you can come check out.
Yep.
And a lot of people, they look at it as like this downside where they can't afford the brick and mortar, and they aren't able to get into that yet. And I'm like, that is a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Like every time I hear somebody who wanted a brick and mortar who couldn't get one, I'm like, that's the universe telling you, and letting you off the hook easy.
Yeah. Like,
that is such a liability, guys. Like, it's e-commerce, okay? Brick and mortar is done. You can't be doing that, especially as a small business.
Yep.
This is true on multiple levels of the industry. This is true even for larger retailers. Majority of the volume of sales is coming online for most clothing manufacturers. Maybe if you're huge and you're a global brand and you need a couple of like flagship stores for, you know, like experiential marketing purposes, then I think that's okay. But don't sweat that you can't have the brick and mortar. The brick and mortar is a liability.
Yeah.
It's going to slow you down. It's going to eat your cost.
Yep.
It's going to restrict where you can sell to a geographic location.
Yeah.
Don't be upset that you can't have that.
And that's also not to say that you shouldn't have like an office space. Like, I get it. If you need an office, you need a place to store your inventory or whatever, that's different. But like running and operating a brick and mortar and trying to get all of your traffic to go through there just doesn't make as nearly as much sense as it used to.
Yeah.
Even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Less than that.
Yeah.
So.
And like, just to continue on the clothing example, it doesn't have to be capital intensive. There are people who have drop shipping models where they never touch anything. And I understand if you want to be hands-on with the quality, there are like happy mediums that you need to find when it comes to your sourcing and if you want to have a store or not. But like, you don't have to pick a capital intensive business if you don't have capital, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We started our business with very little money.
Yeah.
And it safeguarded us.
Yeah.
Because we didn't need to take out lines of credit.
Yeah. I bought a used camera for $425 on Kijiji. And that was really all the equipment we needed. We had our laptops already. That was really the last piece of equipment that we needed.
Yeah.
And then you take those steps. I know it's not as fast and as sexy as like getting out a line or going to seek out investors or whatever and getting all your capital at once, but there's something to be said about taking it slow and steady.
Yeah, I agree.
Just when you can, you upgrade, and then when you get the next piece of equipment that you need, like all that kind of stuff. It's like I said, you don't grow as quickly, but it is definitely a safer way to go.
And I don't even know if it's absolutely true that you don't grow as quickly. Like, you grow as fast as your business model permits you to. But like, yeah, I agree. I'm not saying don't invest your time or don't invest in what you truly believe in, because you should. And you're going to be investing, you know, at least in some capacity, you're going to be investing your time, if not a lot of your own money.
Yeah.
Or some of your own money. But let the idea validate itself before you start investing more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And I understand there are like cost barriers to entry in some things, and you do need to put money in before you get some out sometimes. But not everything has to be super capital intensive.
Yeah. So just take a look at your costs and stuff and figure out what's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. And another externality of taking loans and putting yourself under financial stress is, as a business owner, this is your number one asset, right? Your mindset and your mind. And if you're going to restrict some of your bandwidth by putting a financial burden on yourself, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I'm in debt, I have a line of credit that I need to pay off, that's going to stop you from pursuing what you want.
Yep.
You know, that's going to restrict some of your freedom. And it's just going to be like a little sandbag, a little weight on you at all times. Yep. And you can't really afford to have that if you need to be really free thinking, really adaptive.
Yeah.
Just another part of, you know, what's wrong with taking credit.
Yeah. And as like a personal example, one of the things that we're doing, we're saving a little bit of cash so that we can decorate our office. Like, we got this larger space. We moved from a very small space to a larger space. And yeah, you know, we could have used our credit card. We could have used whatever and like decked the place out, but why not have this little nest egg for more than just the office space, but for everything else? Save the money until we have it and then do it.
Yeah.
Right? It's just
like, I'm not saying it's wrong to decorate our office.
No.
But to have that war chest of cash that can be deployed at any time, if we ever want to pivot, or if we ever run into something like COVID, hey, look, We don't have to scramble.
Yeah.
We don't have to take a loan.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish our office had cooler furniture. I get it, but that peace of mind is priceless, and it frees up your mental bandwidth to focus on what's more important.
Yeah.
And I think that's priceless.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's all we've got on this list here. So I don't know if there's anything else on the top of your dome, what you're thinking about, what you got going on.
We were supposed to talk about Apple and Amazon. So last week was a big earnings reports week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think on Thursday and Friday, they each announced their Q2 earnings reports. And just for those who are listening, basically Apple and Amazon are publicly traded companies, which means they're regulated to be accountable to the public, which means every quarter or every 3 months in the financial calendar, they have to release their earnings reports. So they release their sales, and this is all available to the public. This is all available online. Anybody can look into the nitty-gritty of the financials of a company like Apple because they're legally obligated to report it if they want to trade on a stock exchange. Anyway, point being, a lot of analysts and speculators were expecting like little to no growth given everything that's happened in terms of like COVID affecting everybody's supply chain, and people don't have as much money and people aren't shopping as much. Anyway, the Apple and Amazon did so phenomenally well that it's just been blowing people's minds. Like, for example, Amazon year over year is up 40% already from last year, which nobody forecasted that they were going to grow at that scale. Apple's up like 12% in terms of sales, in spite of everything that's going on, which is just insane.
Yeah.
And there's this saying that like crisis accelerates innovation. And it's true, right? Because these are companies that focus on the digital space. You know, like a big part of what Amazon does is, you know, Amazon Web Services and buying everything online and their logistics infrastructure. Yeah. You know, people are almost being forced to transition faster online now. Like, think about everybody who now has to work from home who needs a reliable computer, in Apple's case. Yeah. Or who need to buy their kids an iPad. Yeah. And, you know, Apple is transitioning a lot to like software as a service models. And that's been a huge part of the revenue that's growing. So like Apple Music, News, storage, the gaming center, iCloud, like all of these monthly costs. They even have a monthly cost where you pay a monthly fee and every year you get the newest iPhone. Yeah. This is a big trend in tech right now is transitioning to more dependence on this like monthly revenue model, which I think is really cool. But anyway, point being, no one forecasted that they would do this well, really. Yeah. So I have a quick question. Do you think that these two stocks are indicative of what's going on in the overall markets, or do you think that these two are just kind of like the golden boys? Well, you got to understand that the market is not the economy. Yeah. Two separate things. The stock market as a whole has been booming. Yeah. It truly has. Obviously, Apple and Amazon are exemplary and they're doing better than most. Like 40%. Are you kidding me? If you go look at their stocks, July 31st, Friday, was an amazing time to be a shareholder in any of those companies. It's absolutely insane. The stock market as a whole isn't doing that well. It's doing great though. All the major indexes are at all-time highs. Yeah. Cool. That's not necessarily indicative of how people are doing financially in the economy. You know, there's a lot of economic turbulence going on right now, but the stock market's doing fantastic. Interesting. Cool. Yeah. Well, what else? Apple is going to be splitting their shares at the end of this month. They're doing like what's called a stock split. So they're doing a 4-for-1 split. Basically, every share is being chopped into 4 pieces. So the idea behind it is an Apple share costs like about $400. Now, if I own one Apple share, they're going to give me 4 and they're going to chop the value in 4, basically. So it's kind of like an easier entry point for people who want to invest in Apple. Yeah. If you can't maybe digest the $400 price, then you can buy a $100 share. Yeah. Got it. So they've done this before. It's just kind of a way to keep their prices low, keep entry more accessible to people. Smart. You can buy fractional shares a lot of the time, but it's just that price is attractive, right? Yeah. It's kind of similar to how people sell things for $9.99 instead of $10. It's not to save 1 cent, you know, it's to subconsciously trick you into thinking it's a better value.
Yeah. Who else reported their earnings? Dan Bilzerian, the king of Instagram.
Yeah. What's going on there?
He lost $50 million.
So what does he do?
His company Ignite. So Ignite is supposed to be like this lifestyle CBD marijuana brand.
Right. Is it vapes?
It's vapes. I think it's water. Like there's a bunch of different product lines. And so we got investors in order to like start this business and stuff. And so you're actually the one that informed me that Dan Bilzerian's earnings report came back and he lost $50 million. I think they did like $10 million in revenue, and he tried to write off like $25 million worth of advertising expenses. And so this dude puts his Ignite logo on everything. He puts it on his tanks. He puts it on his guns. And then tries to write it off. So that's kind of his thing. Pretty crazy.
I don't think the write-off is the problem. I think just not selling anything is the problem.
Not selling anything. And then the reason why this all came out and became so public and great, not just because he's a publicly traded company, but because he fired his CEO or his president or somebody for not writing off all this stuff.
Okay.
And then so he retaliated and said, hey, listen, this business is going to the dump. So crazy.
That sucks. Yeah, I don't know.
Life is not what Instagram looks like, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know much about his background or about his company. He does fantastic on social media, though. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that he can figure out some way to leverage that.
Yeah.
Because his engagement rate's insane.
Yeah. So,
especially given what type of like account it is.
His conversion rate isn't great, though. He's got like 30 million followers, and he only did 10 million in sales.
Yeah.
Brags about like billions of impressions and shit, but he's not actually turning.
Well, it's tricky because it's not safe for work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you post pictures of like girls with barely any clothes and guns and smoking weed and stuff. So it's really unfiltered.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of partner with advertisers and brands that want to align with that kind of an image. Mm-hmm. And also a lot of people probably just like aren't following him.
Yeah.
You know, you have like the married man who might check it out and then not follow or not engage because you don't want to upset your girlfriend or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So he probably has a lot more eyes on him than uh-oh.
It's all good.
We're still recording?
Yeah, we're still going.
Okay. We just got a memory card error, so I was like, uh-oh. But yeah, I don't know. That's unfortunate. I'm sure he can find some other way to leverage that into something because he probably has, hundreds of millions of followers or something?
30 million or something, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. He also lost his, so he was renting an LA mansion for like $200,000 a month.
Whew.
And he just got kicked out of there. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Big July's always a big month for earnings because this is kind of like a reporting deadline for American companies to report what they've done. So if you're ever wondering when to check out how companies are doing, end of July, early August is a good time.
Yep. All right.
I think we're going to wrap it up there, dude. All right. Thank you for watching, guys.
See you next week.
Time.